and welcome to the Autocar show. It's the festive season and as always we have some Diwali firecrackers for you. First up, a nice big bomb of an exclusive, and this comes from our UK counterparts. You've been seeing some of their stories on our show, and this week Mark Tisshaw travels all the way to Mexico to give us a Diwali present, the exclusive of the all-new Audi Q5.
Don't be fooled by the familiar styling. This Audi Q5 is all new. It's a second generation car, and it follows on from the first, which found 1.6 million homes around the world since it went on sale in 2008. Now this new one ticks all the usual new car boxes of being lighter, more efficient, having a plush new interior, and it's also built in Mexico, which is where we've come to test it for the first time. In the UK, we're going to get the 2-litre 4-cylinder diesel engine, and a 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine, and a 3-litre V6 diesel engine. Some cars around the world will get front-wheel drive and manual gearboxes, but in the UK they are quattro, all-wheel drive and automatic only. Now the V6 diesel is a permanent quattro all-wheel drive and has an 8-speed torque converter automatic connected to it. The engine has lots of torque, some 620 Newton meters, and it's an incredibly smooth and refined engine. In fact, that's probably one of the high points of the Q5 as a whole, just how relaxed and quiet it is to drive. We've also had a go in the 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol model, and that was a very nice engine as well. You have to rev it to get the power. Once you're there, it's willing to be revved as well. There's a nice spread of torque, and that's probably all the Q5 most people are going to need. So Audi offers several different suspension settings on the Q5. We're trying cars here in Mexico with the air springs and adaptive dampers, and the ride comfort is excellent. It's a very comfortable car. And you can play around with all the different settings. There's 7 in total and 16 millimeters of adjustability in the suspension. The highest is reserved for off-road, and we had a bit of off-road driving, and there the Q5 did all it needed to. Audi sells this car around the world, and in many of the markets, Russia, Eastern Europe, parts of the Americas, those are the sort of gravel tracks that buyers encounter, and it performed well. The steering is electric steering. There is a variable ratio one coming, but it's a normal one for now. It's not the most communicative steering. It does everything you want it to, but would really want some more feel in the interaction from that. The handling is not what you call involving. It's not a fun car, but it is a very safe, confident car. There's torque vectoring as standard, which keeps the nose tucked in going around corners, and it's pretty resistant to understeer as well. In time, the V6 diesel will be offered with a sports differential, and Audi engineers claim that with this you might even be able to get the car to oversteer, although sadly we haven't had the chance to test that yet. Now one of the real high points of this Q5 is the interior. It's largely borrowed from the A4, A5 and Q7 models, and it's simply of a quality none of the rivals can match. There is the Audi virtual cockpit, and the Q5 also gets Audi's latest MMI infotainment screen. It's not a touch screen, which I personally prefer. I find touch screens not the safest screen because you have to take your eyes off them very constantly and hover over with your finger. Instead you get a combination of a rotary wheel and a little touchpad. It's simple, intuitive to use, and simply put, it's one of the best systems out there. Styling wise, you're probably hard pressed to pick this Q5 out from the old one. But the success of the old Q5, some 1.6 million pound homes around the world, meant that Audi's got a formula that's pretty successful, and it doesn't want to do anything drastically different to alienate such a large audience. Now, would you buy an Audi Q5? Well, for most people, they probably would. They're going to like the way it looks, inside and out. They're going to like the way it drives, because it's composed, it's quiet, it's smooth, it's economical. But for us, we would prefer a bit more handling verve, a bit more involvement in the way it drives. The likes of the Jaguar F-Pace and Porsche Macan have shown that can be done, which for us means that it doesn't go to the top of the class.
We saw Mark talk about 5 engine variants, but in India we will only get 3. The 2 that you saw Mark talk about, the 3-litre diesel, the 2-litre petrol, and in addition we will also get a 2-litre diesel. We expect prices to start around the 60 lakh rupee mark, and you can expect it in India towards the end of 2017. A while ago, I drove Jaguar's first ever SUV, the F-Pace in Montenegro. I'm sure you guys remember it, but for those who don't, let's just take a glimpse back as to what I felt. It has all the Jaguar DNA with a long bonnet, short overhang, and the S-type derived tail light. But what makes it special is the way the metal is just so tautly stretched across the body. Small creases create highlights, and its tightly skinned look with a steeply raked front and rear windscreens lend it a sporty air. Yes, it is stunning to look at too. I'm in the 2-litre now, and this one does the job, but as you can hear, it really toils at it, and you can hear it at most times. It's happy to amble around, and as long as you're using it at park throttle, it's fine. It's when you put your foot down for more that you find it a little lacking. Now don't get me wrong, the 2-litre never struggles at all. We'll get up to triple-digit speed easily, just in a very linear, matter-of-fact manner. This 3-litre engine is just so effortless. It puts a smile on your face almost instantly. You can extend your foot wherever you want in the range, and it just belches out this huge wave of torque that you can ride on endlessly. I often don't realize just how quick I'm going, and the corners come up in a flash as I wind my way up the hill. I'm enthralled by the way the F-Pace is keeping me engaged. Now this electric power assisted steering is really quite incredible. Small deflections bring about reactions, and it feels quite accurate and sharp. Makes you feel very connected to the road. So they did tick off all the boxes they set out to. Does it have what it takes to take on the competition? Well, they're definitely going to have to sit up and take notice and be worried about this Jaguar F-Pace. To answer your question, should I buy one? It's an emphatic yes. And if you prefer being behind the wheels, then definitely 3-litre over the 2. Well, a couple of months later, and the Jaguar F-Pace is on Indian soil. Let's find out what it feels like here. So it's got the familiar Jaguar genetics. It's got that pulsating start button that beckons you to start up this car, and the gear lever that rises out of the central console. It's a rich, well-finished interior that really feels premium. Quality is all top-notch. You've got double-stitched leather across the dash with this red stitching. In fact, because this is the R Sport version, we've got this dual-toned red and black racy interior. And of course, this version is loaded with equipment. A 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, the Meridian sound system, and there's all-wheel drive and a host of safety features too. What's unique is that the F-Pace is one of the rare premium SUVs currently in the market to be equipped with a full-size spare wheel. It also gets the very fancy park assist feature, which not only lets the driver steer the car into a parallel or perpendicular parking spot, it also lets the driver out of a parallel park slot. This back seat is nice and spacious, got lots of leg room, nice headroom, the panoramic sunroof really opens it up. But it is best for only two back here because the central console does come quite a bit into the rear seat. However, you can get quite comfortable because there's also a recline for the backrest. It reclines a little bit and lets you get just that bit more pushy. If you compare it to the other sporty SUV of its size, the Macan, it definitely has more legroom. But what's it like to drive in our conditions? But since we did prefer the 3-litre engine when we drove it earlier in Montenegro, that's the one we chose for India as well, the R Sport. Price-wise, this would pit itself against the Porsche Macan. You know, it's just so refined, this engine, and it just makes driving absolutely an effortless experience. The 8-speed gearbox does the job of swapping cogs efficiently, and I rarely had to access the paddle shift. Put your foot down and you get this nice, long, linear tug of acceleration. Getting up to triple-digit speeds is really easy. There's ample torque to help you cut through traffic gaps or overtake on a highway. And performance is right up there, getting to the 100 mark in just under 7 seconds. In fact, the whole experience is impressive. And being behind the wheel of this is definitely an involving experience. You know, to go with the performance, you've got great handling. In fact, very often, you know, this car just does more than you would expect it to do. Levels of grip around the corners are just quite phenomenal. Drive the F-Pace on a section of twisties and you're guaranteed to get a big fat grin across your face. You often find yourself surprised at the amount of speed you can carry through the corner. It may not be that razor-sharp Porsche handling, but it's as close as you can get. Combined with that kind of handling, what is exceptional even in our conditions, which is one thing that I was worried about earlier, is the ride quality. This just pummels through anything on the road. And trust me, I've been through some pretty bad sections of road today, and I've come away feeling absolutely unfettered, absolutely pampered in a lap of luxury. I drove up and down better sections of road all day testing and shooting. The F-Pace didn't allow me to feel how bad it really was. It just kept me so well cocooned and isolated. There are 4 different driving modes: Eco, Comfort, Dynamic, and Rain, Snow and Ice. Whilst the Dynamic heightens the responses up front, it really doesn't destroy the experience in the back seat, and that's what is impressive. Even in the stiffest of modes, the F-Pace has great ride quality. Speaking of luxury, I mean, this cabin is also so well insulated. It just keeps everything outside. The F-Pace is also available with a 2-litre Ingenium 4-cylinder engine churning out 177 HP and 430 Nm of torque. There are 4 variants on offer. The Jaguar F-Pace is a very desirable SUV. It offers you luxury in good doses. It's got comfort, it's got performance, it's an involving drive, and you get that practicality of the full-size spare wheel which no other premium SUV offers. So, it ticks off all the right boxes, and what's the fly in the ointment, you're asking yourself? Well, there's just one big one, and that's price, because price between 68.4 lakh rupees going up to 1.12 crore, prices are on the higher side. The version we're driving today is priced at around 1.02 crore, and that's a hefty price tag to pay.
If you had to invent the motor car all over again, given today's technology, would you use internal combustion to propel it? It's an interesting question, and as much as we love our roaring V8s and screaming V10s, the answer to that question is no, because converting chemical energy, i.e. fuel, into mechanical energy is a highly inefficient process. So obviously electric is the way to go, and companies like Tesla have been proving that in the West.
In India, of course, we've got our very own Mahindra Electric in the same game. And their latest car, the E2O Plus, well, they claim it's their smartest city car yet.
Tall claim? Maybe not.
This new car still looks unmistakably like a Reva, but Mahindra's signature grille up front has added some much-needed butchness. The design has been spruced up all around, but this E2O Plus gets 2 extra doors, is 310 mm longer, and gets an extra 300 mm wheelbase. What this means is that this is a proper four-door car now with lots more cabin space. The interiors, well, they might be slightly quirky, but the cabin is very well laid out. We especially like the blue backlit instrument pod that shows everything from your speed, range, battery info, and even how efficiently you're driving. The top spec model also gets an Android-powered touchscreen infotainment system as well as a reverse camera. The interior fit and finish is pretty okay for the most part, but there are areas where you feel some corners have been cut. But most impressive is the massive improvement in rear space. There's plenty of knee room and headroom for 2 adult passengers to sit in comfort. Even the 135-liter boot should be more than adequate for the daily drive. This top spec C8 variant gets a 72-volt battery pack and a powerful 30-kilowatt motor, which also makes a healthy 91 Newton meters of peak torque. Mahindra claims a range of 140 kilometers for this model, which should be adequate to handle even the longest of city commutes. However, the larger battery means that a full charge now takes 9 hours. You can opt for a fast charger, which will charge the battery up to 95% in just 90 minutes, but you will have to pay a bit more for that.
Driving the E2O Plus pretty much feels like driving a regular car. With no gearbox but a direct drive transmission instead, all you do is stick the car in F or forward mode and just start driving. It's responsive enough, but acceleration is hardly impressive. For overtakes or some quick acceleration, you can stick the car in B or boost mode, which sends more voltage to the electric motor, giving you much more responsiveness. The flip side, about 15% less range. In whatever little amount we drove inside the resort, the handling felt pretty predictable. The right tool seems to absorb most smaller bumps fairly well. On the larger bumps, however, while the suspension doesn't really crash, the noise of the thudding really creeps into the cabin. Not the best feeling. Now, for an electric car, you're expecting the driving experience to be pretty noiseless. And while the motor itself is fairly quiet, when the AC compressor goes on, well, that sound can get annoying pretty fast. And when the batteries get hot, their cooling system sets off a rumble through the entire car. You'd better be playing some loud music to drown out all that noise. Now, while the E2O Plus is a little bit rough around the edges, at the end of the day, it's a pretty likable car. What Mahindra Electric has done is taken into consideration all the practical concerns and anxieties that people have had about electric cars till now and really addressed them with this. If some of the quality issues could be addressed, it can really be a great daily commuter. So coming back to Mahindra's claim as to this being the perfect or the smartest city car, well, that remains to be seen. For that, we'll do a third road test of this car in the urban environment. But at first glance, it certainly seems so.
Hello and welcome to Autocar Confidential. Now this week we have news about the Hyundai Creta. Yes, this is Hyundai's best-selling SUV, and what we've heard is that a 7-seater version is in the making. But before you get too eager for it, it's going to be the next generation Creta, which will be available in a 7-seater configuration. So this one has to still go through its entire life cycle, and the next gen Creta is expected in 2021. So still some time away, but what Hyundai feels is that there is a market for 7-seaters. It's too expensive to retro-engineer the current Creta for a 7-seater configuration, but the all-new Creta, when it goes on sale a couple of years from now, the next generation Creta, that's been designed grounds up as a 5-seater and a 7-seater version. So that's it from me, but keep watching the Autocar show and happy Diwali.